take the group out towards the end of the game, I'm all right with you.
I'm watching right here, John. I don't need to go
When you come
anywhere.
back, I'll be in the bar and jump.
We all know the last 3 minutes takes about 45 minutes, so that might be a problem. Anyway, it's been Southern Connecticut State University and the University of Connecticut. As a player, he was a center midfielder for the Southern Connecticut Owls from 1977 to 1980, and three consecutive NCAA 2 semifinals, and was a teammate of Reed's. Had they not run into Seattle Pacific on a regular basis in the tournament, the Owls may have several more titles to their name. He became an assistant coach at Cleveland State in 1982, coached the North Haven Girls in 1983, and then Mount Union College in 1984. Coaching for 5 years before teaming up with Ray Reed again in 1989 and became Reed's assistant coach. And since reconnecting with Reed, the two have teamed up to win 4 national titles, 3 at Southern and 1 at UConn. He has twice been selected as the top assistant coach in the country, both in 2011 and 2013. He continues to work with Reed at UConn and has the team consistently at the top of college soccer each year. He coached and developed many of the players listed on our wall here tonight, and we're fortunate to have the top assistant coach in the country here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome John Deeley into the Connecticut Soccer Hall of Fame.
Under a lot of pressure these days. First of all right, let's hear it from Victor. You can never go wrong when you speak from the heart, Victor. To show you how long the game in your system, I saw Victor tonight, and I said, Victor, I said, do you remember, and Victor was a big star, right, in 1978. He was scoring goals in bunches. I said, do you remember, he was one of the key players for the Bridgeport time. I said, do you remember the game Eddie Zamidi broke his nose? He said, and we were playing, right? I came on for Eddie in the game, right? And Victor looks at me, says we're playing the Waterbury Portuguese, right? So he got it 40 years, almost 40 years later. A little tidbit, it was a dynamic young player for the Waterbury Portuguese, 17-year-old. And we're looking at him like, this guy, a year later he was a star freshman at UConn, his name was Pedro de Brito. But, just a tidbit, but I am going to try and stay to my speech here, Coach Reed, all right? I'm going to say some nice things about Coach Reed later, but he gave it to me this week pretty good. You got to keep this speech going, John. You got to keep it going. So I pared down my 25-minute speech into hopefully 5 minutes, right? But I'm going to have to add a couple that I cut out because he deserves them. But let me first, I'd like to thank the Connecticut Soccer Hall of Fame, and especially the selection committee. All right, again, Bill, all right, Pat, fantastic work. Where's Artie? Is Artie? Artie? I haven't seen Artie in years. Artie, good to see you. But again, fantastic job. This has a feel more, almost feels like a wedding, right? I'm ready for some chairs to start flying in a few minutes, especially from that corner table. So, you know, I'm not usually into the awards. When I first heard, I was almost like, oh no, I'm going to have to make a speech. 25 years in the game, I haven't had to make one speech. So I got to make a speech today. My nose gets blown up a little bit. 25 years, one speech. Right? Then I went on the website and I was looking at the names. I'm like, look at this thing. It reads like a who's who, the list of inductees, right? In the sport of soccer, not just in the state of Connecticut, but nationally. Right? So I'm very honored to be included in this group. I really am. Right? And I know I speak, all right, for my fellow inductees. All right? I've met a few of these guys before, but this is really a heck of a group, and Ray and I were already set on a visit in Ireland very soon. I'm not going to steal the thunder of a couple of guys after me. There's some stories we were talking that some Central Connecticut stories, some Chris Burke stories will come out. I'm going to leave some of those stories alone. All right, but I want to congratulate all of these guys, the 2014 inductees, and of course all their family members that have been able to show up. All right. Also, I want to thank my friends, all right, and my family. I knew that some guys were going to surprise me, speak up. I knew it was going to be this big a turnout, and to be honest with you, all right, I'm really overwhelmed. All right, so my family and friends. There's a good portion of these guys came up from Long Island, New York. My brother Mike came up from Long Island, New York, and we're going to just hit on that briefly. All right, so tonight we're going to speak about a few key people, all right, that have influenced my career. All right, it's impossible, right, to talk about all the people that I'd like to. It's funny, I got tied up on this one sentence about how to talk about this, and I don't even have to talk about it. Just look around the room at the guys that you want to mention, the guys that you've known, guys that you've played with, guys you've played against, guys that you've coached with, coached against, administrators, friends, supporters, the whole group. I could talk about so many people in this group. Fortunately, it's impossible. Right, so I'm going to keep it to a couple of key people, and maybe tell one or two Ray Reid stories. All right, so I just want to start off by recognizing my old high school coach, the legendary John Eden of North Babylon, New York. A number of those guys. I had this plan before I had any idea. I knew a couple of guys were coming, but I had no idea how many guys were coming. But it's just fitting. Right? John Eden, a little reference. John Eden was the Long Island High School soccer, what Albie Leffler was the high school soccer here in the state of Connecticut. Right? Both coaches were enormously respected and strongly influenced an entire generation of soccer guys. Right? I was lucky enough to be one of these players, as so many other guys in this room, right? Either through John Eden or through Albie Leffler. We're very, very fortunate, right? Because these were two key guys in the game sound. And ironically, my brother Mike, my good friend Ted Goodenough, my younger brother, and I played together. These guys against Staples High. Back in the old days, the two teams used to play in the preseason. All right? John Eden was also instrumental in my coming to Southern Connecticut and playing for Bob McCready. Great respect for Bob, and he really a guy. Let me just say just a quick word about Southern Connecticut. It was a perfect fit for me. Outstanding coaches, outstanding players, an academic course load that was somewhat manageable. I think my first semester I managed at 0.8. Don't worry, guys. I got it up the second semester. 1.2. But let me just talk about Bobby Kearney for a second. Right? And I'm not going to say a lot about Bob because a lot has been said, especially in the last year. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame. I was lucky enough to be out at the National Convention when he got inducted. Fantastic presentation, video presentation on the big screen. Bob did a great job. And then Ray had a great idea. He said, you know, a lot of people didn't get a chance to see him out at the convention. Let's bring him in to the Meet the Huskies dinner. Fantastic presentation again. And Bobby, for me, it was one of my favorite nights. Bobby did a beautiful job, right, in acknowledging all that Joe had done at the University of Connecticut. It was really, at the end, they had a warm embrace. It turned out to be a great night. And again, Ray put that together. All right, so let me just say about Bob, and I'll be brief, that I consider him to be one of the true masters. All right? I've never seen a better team trainer. Right? And I was very fortunate to have played for him, and even more fortunate to been able to work alongside him for 8 seasons. Right? But more important than all of that is that Bob's a heck of a guy, right, and a loyal friend. All right? So Bobby D. Am I doing on time, right?
Argentina's 40 seconds from eliminating Brazil.
shots lined up. One quick story on Southern Connecticut, Bobby and Ray and myself. Ray Reed was not always the easygoing, laid-back guy. And we used to have meetings, legal meetings. We'd have meetings to discuss what we were going to talk about in the next meeting. And I don't know the details, but Bobby will get a big kick out of this. So we have this one meeting, and I think we're talking about whether a guy's ready to replace another guy who had been injured. And we're going. It's now 45 minutes, 50 minutes, and I just said, I got to take a break. I said, I'm getting a headache. So I said, I got to go to the restroom. So I go to the restroom, I go up to the urinal. All of a sudden, I look over my shoulder, and Ray is right behind me. And he's like, what do you think, John? You think you can do it? What do you think? I said, I think you should step back a little bit. But those were different days. Different days. All right, the last person that I'd like to recognize is my good friend Ray Reed. Can we hear it? Ray and I have now worked together for 25 years. Ray has always been the driving force behind the success of our programs. He is the big picture guy who has the vision, the determination, and the energy to put it all together. My main role is and always has been as one of his key advisors. I like to think of myself in a way as his consigliere. Say Tom Hagen to his Tom Sawyer. He is a big fan. God bless us. Over the years, Ray and I have had our disagreements, but the one thing we've always agreed on is that to have a top-level program, you need outstanding players. No one has been more relentless in the pursuit of talent than Ray Reed. Besides our friendship, it is the opportunity to consistently work with so many high-level players year after year that has made my job so satisfying. I want to thank Ray for keeping me employed all these years. I really do. My wife wants to thank him for our health plan. And let me tell you, when you work for Ray, you need a good health plan. All kidding aside, all right, Ray and I, it's been a great run, all right? And nobody else on this list of Hall of Fame guys could have lasted 25 years with Ray. I don't care who it is. But the only one might be his great wife, Val, but she still has a lot of years left to catch up to. Lastly, all right, I want to thank my wife, Karen Warner. So you UConn women's fans will remember her as her nickname was Wally, two-time All-American, two-time national finalist. And without a question, the best thing to happen to me, right? UConn's been great for me. Without a question, meeting Karen and the rest of that has been the best. Thank you, everybody.